Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm here in Rondo for the LA Lakers. Could be a potential guy for our assistance coaching search to go along, of course, with who we presume will be the coach, JJ Redick, although I read somewhere that decision is not made. But for whatever reason, they're putting together the assistant coaching staff, it seems, without actually having decided on a head coach, which I flat out don't believe. I definitely think JJ's going to be the coach, and I definitely think they're putting together his assistant coaching team, which I think is probably the only thing to do right now. I mean, it's the off season. This is when you want to have that kind of stuff dreamt up and put in place right before the draft. So with the draft coming up at the end of June, I would imagine having his coaching staff in place makes all the sense in the world right now. It's one of those things where it's like, as we said in the last video or the video before talking about the Lakers, JJ still has a lot of work to do with his broadcasting obligations in place for the finals, for the rest of the Western Conference finals as well. So I don't think they really want to announce him to be the coach until the finals is complete. You finish one job and then start another type of thing. But at the end of the day, it's already understood that he's in place. So there shouldn't be a reason why certain things aren't happening as it pertains to him being presumed as the coach. Now, whether or not they want to tell us this or not, that's not as important as them actually doing it behind the scenes ahead of the draft. You don't want to not know who your coach is and what your coaching staff's goal is going to be. You don't want to start making moves in free agency and all that other jargon before knowing who your coach is going to be. You got to draft and all this. You want all that stuff done before the draft so that you can have a concise plan and direction. And if you are avoiding doing those things just because of public perception, in my humble opinion, you're doing it wrong. You know, public perception matters only but so much in the grand scheme of things when this is all a big off season. But the sequence of things during that off season and how you handle them will determine how well you start the season. It's the same thing I said about firing Darvin Ham. You could fire him at the end of the playoffs. You could fire him a couple weeks after the playoffs, as they did. You could fire him before the draft. But at the end of the day, as long as he's fired at some point in time during the offseason and is not starting as head coach, and you're doing your job. And that's kind of what it is. The sequence of things are based on how we perceive them as the public. They want us to perceive certain things a certain way, but that absolutely cannot take precedent over executing things the right way. And so they can tell us whatever the hell they want, but they need to be putting together that coaching staff. That's basically what I'm here to say. They need to be putting together that coaching staff, and they need that to be in place ahead of the draft, in my opinion. So I think that's what they're doing. I think that's exactly what's happening. They're not going to announce JJ as the coach, and they're not going to act like they are doing all of this. But the only thing to do is all of this. So getting this coaching staff together, what do I think of Rondo? I think the world of Rondo. I think Rondo would probably be a great coach as a head coach. You know, I think a lot of people would love to have him as a part of their organization and brain trust. I don't know that he wants to be a head coach, but it seems like he would be open to being an assistant coach, and I'd like him to do that for our team, you know. And James Borrego, from what I understand, is also another name that's starting to heat up for assistant coaching. Sam Cassell's name, of course, as we mentioned in another video. And also heard Jared Dudley, who won the NBA championship with us back in 2020. I hear his name is very serious about this as well. So they're putting together what they think will work. I'm inclined to agree with Sean Davis when he says they need to not just think about slapping names together, but having a cohesive unit that all has specialty in different things. I think it's real nice that you're putting together a bunch of names, but if those names don't come together to have a good scheme, or if you got a bunch of guys that can only do the same thing, I think that can hurt the overall process. So I lean on what he says in that regard, in saying they need to get an offensive coordinator, a defensive coach. Obviously, you want JJ to be in place as your shooting coach / head coach. Probably want to bring back Phil Handy as a development coach. You know what I mean? We want to check all the boxes. So I hope the Lakers are thinking that way, rather than, again, public perception and who the names are and how much they're going to be liked being the precedent over what it is they can actually accomplish. And so that's really my point of view on the situation. I think at the end of the day, if the Lakers are doing what works for the unit that they're trying to put together, then they're doing the right thing. But if they're doing it just so that people like myself can feel good about how they're moving in the offseason, then that's not going to make us feel real good about how the season starts. So I trust the Lakers are starting to listen. You know, they're listening to us. So hopefully that can kind of help guide them into decisions that will make us happy and will be good for the team at the same time. You know, I think it's, you know, I'm not going to speak for the Lakers, but I would say this. I think they would be open to suggestions. You know, without speaking for them, I can just imagine them saying something along the lines of, if you got a good idea, let us know. And put it on your platform. We're listening. I think that's kind of what they're showing me. And so that's what I try to do. I just assume that would be something they'd be open to. That's why I mentioned certain things. And I'm sure the rest of us who come together to make this Laker thing a conversation have that in mind too, man. So that's really what it is. You know what I'm saying? I think the Lakers are in a good space right now, so long as they're not doing everything for clutch LeBron James. That's my thing. You can make somebody happy, but not to hurt yourself. And that's really what a lot of my conversations been catered around, is just not being appreciative of how that appears. But you can, like I said, it's just like I said about the public perception thing. You can do a lot of things in the media to make people feel like something's going to happen. As long as you don't execute the wrong way, people can talk about whatever they want to talk about. Many a time we thought they were going to do something they didn't do. And we didn't want them to do those things, and they didn't do them. You know what I mean? So whatever the conversation is takes secondary precedent over the execution of whatever it is that actually gets done. And so we could talk, for example, when they were talking about bringing in Buddy Hield a million times. Buddy Hield. And maybe it wasn't best for the move that we were trying to make to bring in Buddy. We didn't bring in Buddy. Everybody thought Buddy was coming. He never came. We thought Miles Turner was coming, but that Pacer deal wasn't best for us. So I would have been upset if we would have did that deal. I didn't think it was best for us. And they didn't accomplish that deal, and that's a good thing. So we can talk about stuff like that. We can talk, but at the end of the day, what they actually execute is what is most important to me. Not necessarily the rumors and the talking points and what looked like could happen. None of that matters as much as them getting it done, getting what they need to do done. So that's really where my head is right now. Just wondering how much of what I'm hearing is for us, the consumer, and how much of it actually gets done. The whole Bronny the Suns thing is heating up. I heard a few people talking about that on their platforms as well, and they kind of echoed what I was saying essentially, which is it would probably be wiser for LeBron's son to not take on the posturing of his management team as it pertains to how he wants to interview for other teams. I would respectfully tell them I would rather interview for a few more teams than just the Lakers and the Suns. For the respect of my name, you know what I mean? Bronny James, not LeBron James, but my real name, LeBron James Jr., who was his own person. That human being doesn't need to be posturing around like he's the GOAT. That human being needs to understand what is going to make him be respected in the locker room. You understand what I'm saying? He's the one, and look, he may be playing with his dad, but there's a chance he doesn't play with his dad. And then he's going to have to walk in a locker room where respect is earned, not given. Where he's going to have to prove he one of the guys with the privilege of somebody wanting to check him in the game because of his son. He's his father's son. With the privilege of already having generational wealth attached to him to where he don't never have to work a day if this NBA thing don't work out. You understand what I'm saying? He's coming in a different space. And few, very, very few are coming in with their lives set. A lot of people who are fighting for these opportunities, They're hoping to get their mom out of the hood. They're hoping to buy their parents a house. They're both hoping to, you know what I mean? They have things that this is relying upon. And for him to come in with all that privilege on top of all of what he already has, the last thing he needs to be doing is wielding that in these people's faces. Taking opportunities from guys who really need it. And being cool with that in such a way to say, well, not only am I doing that, but I'm going to let y'all know what it is. Like, that's just not the position you want to take when you're trying to come into that locker room and you're trying to sit on that team bus and that team plane. You don't want people thinking that way of you, man. You don't want that to be what's in a guy's mind when you're going up against him in practice. You understand what I'm saying? It's just, it doesn't help you when you have to be around regular ball players, because you're not a regular ball player. You're the ghost son who he's trying to force into the league with all the power he has and all the power of his management team. So it's like, bro, some of this stuff that looks good in the eyes, like, it just depends on what room we're talking about being in. If you're in the room that Rich Paul is in, then it's most important that you put your chest out and show yourself to be the most powerful person in the room, because that's the game he's playing. That ain't the game Bronny's playing. You feel me? But because their guy is that guy, LeBron James, because their main guy is LeBron James, it's like, well, LeBron's ours. So in order for us to posture in this room full of billionaires, we got to flex our muscle like the billionaires do. And so this is his son. Yeah, he's going to take precedent. This is the prince. We got the king. Like, but the prince has to suffer that. Do you see what I'm saying? And that was my point of view yesterday. That's what others are talking about now. It's like, bro, him coming in saying I'm only playing for the Suns and the Kings, like he the number 1 overall pick prospect. That's a terrible decision. Or the Suns of the Lakers, rather. It's a terrible decision. It's a terrible decision. That's a Rich Paul decision. You doing that because you attached to Rich and his reputation's on the line. You feel me? That's what that looked like to me. My guy's LeBron James. His son's coming into the league. Y'all gonna park the Red Sea for him. Yeah, but now he gotta sit in the room with a bunch of kids who don't get to have the Red Sea parted for them. You know what I'm saying? Now how he being looked at in that room? You think they stepping over his toes to keep from stepping on yours? That's naive of you. To sit on your porch or your high point, whatever they call it. I think it's a porch. Sit on your high point on the stoop and look down on him as these kids, while you're around, are going to treat him like good, like he's the best thing in the world. When you walk away, they're going to kick him in his backside. Because they resent him for that energy and they resent him for being cool with it. And so that's my thing. It's like, I know better, bro. I know better. I know better. And that's exactly what I would tell Rich Paul and LeBron James. The only time they're going to treat him like he's the prince is when you're in the presence. When you're there to see it. Because they won't dare do that in front of you. The moment you walk away, they going to kick him in his backside, bro. They gonna have him sitting over there while they scurrying over here talking like this. I'm telling you, bro, I know how that goes. For some reason, I already know how that go. I already know how that go. Bronny gonna be outcasted off the strength of his privilege. That's what he has to try to come in and let people know that he don't give no damns about. He don't care about that privilege, bro. He is trying to earn it. It ain't just a talking point for his dad to say to gain respect from people that he don't, you know what I'm saying, have to prove himself. His son got to walk in them rooms. It's a different perspective and it requires a different posture, man. And the only thing Bronny should be really wanting to do from his perspective, based on what he has to wear, the shoes that he has to wear, is gaining the respect of all these regular dudes. That's all. Because stuff gonna come easy to him any damn way. Because of what comes his way. He don't have to act like he's so happy about it. You know what I'm saying? Or act like it's like he deserve it. You feel me? Because people are playing posture games above his head, making it so that he has this aura about him for which he deserves something, when really it's just nepotism, bro. And nepotism is shunned by the regular folks because they don't have the privilege of doing it. So outright, the only thing I think Bronny should be trying to do is come in humble. And to me, it looked like Bronny's a humble dude, man. That's the thing that bothers me. It's not like he walking around with his chest out saying, look what my daddy is, get up out my way. This is somebody who almost lost his life a year and a half ago to that heart thing. He ain't never come off as the type of dude that really, he don't come off like that to me. He don't come off as a personality that's gonna act like that. Like, move up out the way, y'all know who my pops is type energy. I ain't never got that aura from that child. So it's like, I just don't think people are moving right for what it is that he gonna be his own man. That's not just a talking point for his father to say. That's who he actually is, bro. So I think that man, who he is, he needs to be working out for whatever team would want to see him. Humbling himself before the entire league, making his own friends. You understand what I'm saying? I think it's the smartest thing for a guy like that to do. Is make his own friends. Now, granted, you got to keep your guard up because people are going to want to use you as a means of getting to your dads. They're going to want to pretend like they like you off the strength of that power. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's a lot of games that could be played around him that he will have to guard against that a lot of people will not be able to relate to or know how to advise him on when making his own friends. But because he's not LeBron James talented like his pops, he really is going to need to make friends on his own. The only friendships he benefit from can't be the ones that his father, people who want to benefit from his father's legacy or benefit from his father's wealth or whatever. Those can't be the only friends Bronny has in this league, bro. He gonna need real friends in real places. And what I mean by that is lower friends. I tell you the truth, man, I really do think that's what it is for a lot of people in that position. For people on the bottom, they want friends on high. For people up high with a lot of privilege, they want friends down here. That's what I think. Because at the end of the day, you want the people that know of you to believe in you, not just believe in your father's legacy or believe in your father's aura or believe in the company that your father owns as a means of what your marriage should be about. You want to be able to walk into a room when your dad's not around and still be respected by the people in that room. And so how do you handle that? It's by gaining friends in places where otherwise your father don't probably feel the need to even know those people. You know what I mean? Rich Paul, your uncle, probably don't even see the need to really talk to some of the people that you would probably benefit the most from knowing, bro. That's what I would tell Bronny. It's like, be cool with everybody. Because you really are on this level if not for that privilege. And that privilege works against you in a lot of cases just like it works in your favor. And the one thing I know about the truth in the world that I'm in, the world that I know of down here, is that this is where public perception is. This is where you gain your respect. That up there is where you're handed fake respect. As long as your father has power and a good name, you're going to get fake respect by people who can sway with the wind. But the foundation of real respect is found down here. This is where it doesn't sway. This is where people can't be bought or holding the foundation of what real respect actually is. This is who you really want to be respected by. Not necessarily people who can move the world with one finger, but people who can move together and change the world. Those are the people you want to know if you're a privileged person. That's who you really want respect from. Because you can't earn that. You can't buy that, rather. You can earn that, though. And once you earn that, it don't sway. It don't sway. And I look at it like this, even though this is a hell of an analogy. If you were to ever fall, you know who's down there to catch you? Are the people who love you down there. Those are the ones who are really there to catch you. When everything falls apart, when the whole world falls apart and everything that makes your dad powerful disappears, it's going to be the people that you respected on the way. The people that you didn't have to talk to, that you did, you gave time to. Those are going to be the ones that carry your legacy forward, saying Bronny James is a real dude. Do you understand what I'm saying? That would be the advice I give anybody in the position that he's in. Because if If you benefit so much from what people are jealous of, the only thing you really need is a real name. You need your own name, and you need that name to be attached to real respect. And that don't mean doing stupid stuff that people who hate you want you to do to gain their respect. Them ain't the ones I'm talking about. It's gonna be a lot of people down here that don't respect you because they don't respect themselves. If you show yourself to be real, they ain't, you know what I mean? It's a lot of dirt down here too, but when you talk about respecting the last guy on the bench and earning the respect of the janitor and all of that, that's the type of stuff that I think is most important for a person like that. When you the prince and the king is your daddy and all of that, you need that type of respect. So that when people walk away from your daddy, they still got a lot of respect for you. Like, nah, he a real dude. Nah, he ain't just living off his daddy's this, that, and the third. That's a real guy there. And so I respect that a lot, and I think that it's not taught to people in privilege to think that way. They taught to fear people who don't have a lot. They taught to fear that people are going to try to take from them what they have. But the only reason why anybody would want to do that on this level is if you show you don't give a damn about them. You have more people that have your back than you're going to have people that want to take from you on this level. And vice versa up there. You have more people want to take from you who are so very ambitious but not quite where you are. They're going to want to take from you, that value what you have rather than who you are. That's just what comes with that. And I think that's a misconception in a lot of ways. It's like, oh, everybody around me is rich, so of course nobody's going to take from me. No, everybody's around you rich, which means they got to keep that rich up. And not a lot of them have the opportunity to do that without doing things they ain't got no business doing. You're going to find more, quote unquote, dirt up there with highly ambitious, ruthless people who are going to want to take everything they can from the person next to them so that they can continue to be on the level they own. Because if they don't find a way to stay up there, they fall. And for those who have the privilege of the foundation up there, their daddy's got a lot of money, they've got long money, goes back generations, they're not on the same level with those people. Even if those people dress the same way they do, have property like them, those who don't have that foundational wealth, they're 1 or 2 steps away from falling back down here with no respect, because they were too snooty to give respect down here, but weren't too far away from down here. People like Bronny James don't never have to worry about that his whole life. He can fall back on his father's wealth no matter what he do. But just the same, as I'm speaking wisdom, I say the world can change. So a person like that would be wise to value their own merit and have as many friends in many places as possible. People that they trust, people that respect them and will speak for them on their own, away from their daddy's legs. It's so important. You know who I think has that right outside of sports? Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son. When I think of Jaden Smith, besides his own art and things like that, I think of his efforts in Flint. That's going to give him respect in rooms that a lot of people in his position will never be respected in. Because he showed he cared about people. He allowed his name, his own name, not his father's, not his mother's name, but his own name to be attached to something that would make it so that people would love him on a level that he never actually has to be on. So if anything would have ever happened, he know he good in certain places that a lot of people in his position are not good. If he's ever stuck out in the world, he gonna have friends where others don't. I believe that young fella could walk down the street in Flint and get respect, as to where most people in his position probably wouldn't be wise to do that. And I think that that's what a lot of sons of kings should be thinking like. You want the respect of the people. You want the respect of the people in an ever-changing world where capitalism is potentially on its last leg. People who benefit the most from capitalism want as many real friends as possible. Real friends. In places that maybe you don't have to go to. I just believe that. We're not just talking about sports, obviously. So I don't know, man. I don't know. When you're in a position of privilege and you got everything, that's not what people are telling you is important. They will tell you what I'm saying is irrelevant, and since I ain't got nothing, I don't know nothing. It's fine. Let the calendar tell the story if you don't want to take my word for it. things change quickly in a world where people are starting to wake up to what humanity really is and versus what is not. In a world where people are starting to focus on things that they've been distracted from, this is the time to start realizing the power of having your own respect and merit in places that others have told you you don't have to go to. Having the respect of people that have been told to you are not worth as much. In whatever walk of life you're in this regard, it's basketball. But I think Bronny's going to get it. I think he's going to get it. I think he's going to be fine. He just needs to kind of not follow the path that it appears they're trying to set him up to be on by only interviewing with 2 teams and then stepping into whatever locker room and assuming he's going to be good in those locker rooms. I just think it's going to be ugly for him. I think it's going to be ugly. I think people are going to look at him crazy. And I really do. Unless he's in that locker room with his dad, which I think they're trying to position him to be in. But I would tell him like this, bro. I'd tell him the truth. An NBA path, if we're just looking at this thing clearly, can take you all over the place. You could start your career going a certain way. It don't necessarily mean it's going to travel that way going forward. You can be on the team, look like you're never going to leave that team, look like everything's going to go well for you, and then you get traded to a team, and now all of a sudden you're a journeyman. Now you done played on 8 teams in 9 years. Like, that's a real thing. And so I tell a guy like Bronny James, I wouldn't feel as safe to think that my whole career is going to be mapped out by these same people who are trying to get it started. I wouldn't be as relying upon that privilege, so to speak, as maybe you're probably being coerced into believing you should. I wouldn't trust that necessarily. You pick up a couple bad injuries, you have a couple bad games on national television, and all of a sudden you're butt of everybody's jokes because you're LeBron James' son and ain't living up to a certain standard. You feel me? And then it's in Clutch's best interest to kind of just fade away from you. Not to say that they would necessarily do that, but you just don't want to be in a position where you're caught in that world and it be catching you off guard, so to speak. You don't want to be caught off guard by that. That's what I would tell Bronny James, bro. Think about Alonzo, not LaMelo, Alonzo. When he first got started, he was getting pushed into where he needed to go. He got taken over Jason Tatum and De'Aaron Fox and Donovan Mitchell. Guys that you know damn well you're going to take over them that day if he wasn't who he was and if it wasn't for his father marketing him so well and all the different stuff, the UCLA and all these media outlets that were just putting him in the air as the best guy ever. Telling you he's Steph Curry and all kinds of stuff like that. Right now, that which was pushing him then is no longer pushing him now. He got his contract, but his career is not guaranteed. The injuries hit, and now it's just not the same clout. That's who I would tell Bronny James to pay attention to. Because it's going to be a day where your dad's out the league and will have been out the league for a couple years. And even though he'll probably be still hovering around as a great, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the same leverage that he has to keep pushing you into certain spaces that allows you to play, allows you to do whatever that you're able to now, coming into this league with all this leverage. That's not the reality of it when people can't use him as a means of the word would probably be excusing having you on the team, so to speak. It's going to be how well you're playing, how good you can do, and all that other stuff, your respect to your name that's going to get you further 7, 8, 9 years from now. Clutch may have your back, but things can change in that way. So that's what I would tell young Bronny, man. I just think that they're using him a lot. Try to put him in a position to posture themselves. Like he's the son of LeBron, so we're not letting him come down here and do all of this peasant stuff. That's them. That's what they want people to look at them and say. That don't necessarily benefit Bronny James. And so because I'm wise enough to know that, that's exactly what I would tell him if I was his friend. Like, bro, these people, they're using the fact that you his son as a means of making themselves look good. Which doesn't actually look good, to be honest with you. But when you're trying to show that you're an elitist, and it is just, and we are the best of the best, trying to copy people that are not them, you know what I mean, that kind of thing, then yeah, you're gonna behave a certain way that looks unbecoming. And that's exactly what I think they're doing. They're using him to do it. I don't like it. I don't like it, man. I'm not saying we should quote unquote stay in our place, because that's way too far. But approaching that area of space to say, you still black, bro. Don't act like you know what I'm saying? Don't act like you're not. Is what I would tell Rich Paul, LeBron James, Bronny James, all of y'all. Do never, ever think that in this world, they gonna look at you like you one of them just because you behave like one of them while having the privilege that you got. They gonna want to humble you. That's the difference. They ain't gonna humble each other because they feel entitled to that based on who they are and what they are. You acting like that, and they take offense to that. I'm just being honest. So I don't know if that's the right way to approach it. If you're Rich Paul and them, I don't think that's the right way to approach it. You can have everything in the world, but if you don't control the environment, you're still at the mercy of who does in a lot of cases. Never forget that, my friends. So that's pretty much my point of view, man. I know I took this somewhere far away from just a basketball conversation, but I really do believe this. All the things that I just said, I believe every last one of them. At the end of the day, if you walk around like you are greater than now, you better have the support of everybody who thinks the same way. The last thing you want to do is try to mimic them and think they're going to respect you for it. That is not how that works. You got to be a lot more humble than them, even though you have all the privilege and power that they have, man. That's just what I know. It don't work the same for you, black man. It does not. So that's my point of view. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.